Here we go with episode 10, and an immediate standoff is such an intense way to start it. The atmosphere is serious, but Majin Ku, less so. Tamagami number 1 feels a lot more standoffish than the third. 1's got the sword, 3 has the hammer, so 2 has the spear. It's a neat little gimmick that makes these critter-looking things feel more like knights. Last video I had mistakenly said people won't remember number 1's personality when I meant number 3. As of this episode, I stand by that statement though as far as character goes. But people will surely remember this fight. It's like Toei heard the complaints that Ku was too goofy and decided to lean into it in the best way. Ku has got a lot of traits of Kid Buu, kinda like the part where he's a chimp on stimulants. Ku is unique in his attacks though, seems he's got controls on them too, like the Destructo Disc. Unfortunately, he doesn't give them names though. I thought that was like an unspoken rule. They start off so hot, it was almost disappointing to cut to the warp and Goku, who shins warping without asking. The excuse Pansy gave about being military family was sort of flimsy, but the warp bought it. Makes me wonder what is even its incentive to be there. I mean, it seems independent enough. They're heading for the second demon world, and I think Goku's getting worse with Glorio's name. The latter's passive reactions are funnier to me than the gag itself. Glorio also seems really agreeable to get the next Dragon Ball, so someone's surely eager to enact Arenzu's plans. When Dende comes up, so does a discussion about how valuable Namekians are. Though that's funny to think about since their role in Dragon Ball Z was a fairly small portion of it. I mean, the Namek arc is only about 11% of that series. Of course, King Piccolo crops up earlier than that in the OG, but at that point we didn't know he was a Namekian. He was just a demon that was revealed to be part of an ancient Namekian clan. So, throwing an unnecessary jab at Goku, Vegeta says he wants to get going to the next Dragon Balls. I'ma say number 2 goes to Vegeta, but Ku could need the redemption, so it's sort of a toss-up. Bulma's really into her new youthful look, and I think she's the only one enjoying the situation. It's for such a trivial reason too, and it makes total sense for someone who would ask Shinron for a boyfriend. Hebus is quite the player though, and like Bulma's skin, he tries the smooth talker. But we know Vegeta don't play about his Bulma! He mentions they're married, but Hebus doesn't mind. Is he implying that he tried to steal her, or that they'd be polyamorous maybe? Nonetheless, Vegeta has taken a lot of jabs from Hebus, and it feels so much like Toriyama's humor to have everyone just constantly heckling each other. I agree with Vegeta though, I don't much like the image of adult him with Chibi Bulma. We also get the biggest lore drop this episode, and that being that Vegeta's a boob guy. As we get back to Majin Ku, I get to wondering if he'll transform, and if so, how? Buu did that by absorbing and munching on people, but Ku doesn't seem as elastic. His attacks are also flashier than Kid Buu's for sure, who largely just used his body. It makes sense, this being his first fight, that he's got some sloppiness. Majin Ku thrusts his crotch at us, and I actually like this performance style of fighting. It's engaging, if anything. He also gives me the impression of a creature that could pick up on things pretty quickly. I mean, he'd sort of have to if there's only about 10 episodes left. I still wish number 1 was fleshed out more, but clearly the focus here is to show off Ku, who's actually layered. The way he talks is refined, but when he's in battle, it's straight chaos. Arenzu's reaction had me convinced number 1 was out, but he's really not a pushover. As he started to get the jump on Ku, I wondered what a loss would mean for Arenzu. Would that be the end of her plans? I mean, Majin making has got to be a pretty costly and time-consuming process. Pansy's always got such sincere reactions, like you'd really expect this from someone who's essentially leaving her country for the first time. She's all like, wow, so this is the demon world? And it's just like trees and water. According to Shen, who's home in literally God knows how long, there's Krakens, and I expected an immediate ambush. Would have been pretty good comedic timing. It's not from the Kraken, but an immediate and albeit somewhat random ambush does occur. Amazing to have such an action-focused episode with Daima's incredibly dynamic animation. Ha! Dynamic. And is anyone keeping count of how many ships they've lost? Goku's able to dispose of them pretty quick, and it's a good time to watch him enjoy doing it. These cuts to Goma and Degasu are getting more frequent, which gives the impression we really are about at the halfway point of Daima. Them continuing to be in shock, I bet they're regretting a wasted wish. It seems like every episode someone is going on about how strong and sugoi Goku is. At a point it does get a bit redundant, like, oh, Goku's strong, next you're gonna tell me he's hungry. At the same time, it would be odd for them to witness such a grand display and just have no reaction at all, so I get it. They couldn't help but to fly into Kraken territory, and it looks more alien than some of the ones we've encountered. We know something like this wouldn't finish off the crew, but my heart did race when Pansy did the same back in. Couldn't think at first of what was so important because I was too busy being claustrophobic for her. Then Goku's like, hey, everything good in there? Notice Glorio had legit concern for her. Munch. I'm sure it was part shock, but I think we can safely say he does care for them. In the nick of time, our boy got our girl out with the Dragon Ball. I'll admit, I thought she was going back in for a stuffed animal. This, coupled with getting the pin, Pansy's genuinely such a useful addition to the team. Dare I say more than Shin? So far, the episode's been straight hype, yet they managed to triple it in just one line. Daima Namek looks like if you combined Planet Namek with Earth. It's got the same overwhelming green as everything else in this realm, but the same swirly cloud patterns as Earth, and it makes sense that the Namekians would recreate a home that's reminiscent of their old one. I'm sure it was nice the writers didn't have to think too outside the box, but I would have liked to see some primitive looking version of these dome homes. They're practically the exact same as the ones in current Namek, you know, until Frieza blew it up. Goku gets so hungry he decides to eat a bug, and I think this is a new low for him. He does get a little boost, but is that all the revive bug amounts to? A protein bar? Definitely need the fusion one to give us some more bang for our bug buck. The others arrive and Goku picks up on their presence. Pansy wonders how that is, and Shin explains again, although it is interesting how he continues to say he can sense them. But Shin can sense Ki as well, can he? Bulma is awestruck that what she's seeing is the demon world. Feels interesting to call out since a quip I've seen a couple times is about how Daima's demon world feels very relaxed. It's more like the gang's on vacation. Toriyama likes to subvert expectations, so a demon realm this chill makes sense, but it's unfortunate it comes at the cost of tension. Piccolo drops that his father lived there, which is curious since they never met. It adds credibility to Piccolo having King Piccolo's memories, giving him access to both Kami and King Piccolo's. Essentially, those two have become one being again through Piccolo, with Nail as a bonus. Piccolo's whole heritage lore is honestly pretty trippy. Goku pulls up on them doing his cutest Kraken impression, and after about 5 or so minutes they let him in. As one would guess, the gang gets attacked by the monster, but not the police. Maybe it was having their plane that made Goku's group suspicious. Vegeta's understandably shook by all that, and it's being a kid that lets him break character in these fun little ways. Goku states the Kraken's stronger than them, so it's power scaling time. Was that hyperbole? Probably not, but the Kraken being stronger than the Tamagami would mean they're stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Goku, which would be a feat. This time, when we cut back to the fight, I'm disappointed again because of how engaging the lore drops were. Really goes to show just how balanced the A and B plot are. In a hilarious twist, Ku very politely throws in the towel. These are not the manners you'd find in either Boo or the Cybermen, that's for sure. So, they call it a day. Humor is so good as Ku pleads to keep his job, and I wonder if Aranzu will get attached to this thing. Will she keep him around, or is a new Majin on the way? Piccolo gets so immersed and has such deep familiarity for a place he's never been. Namekians be going through it too. Climate crises, extinction, and Shin lets us know they were even treated as slaves. Piccolo's lack of reaction makes me think he knows this history too. All this talk of homecoming, how Nahare and Piccolo were sort of neighbors, leads Shin to get into his backstory too. If Goku will allow it. Apparently the good Supreme Kai, who looked like they'd be villains, more subversion, wanted to expand the demon realm. Remus, who looks stunningly close to Zeno, was apparently the highest authority, though still took orders from the Majins. To me, that means if they were still around, Majins would be the highest authority in existence. In a pretty well-known interview, Toriyama even stated that Majins have been around since time immemorial, so it all ties together beautifully. And even better, it doesn't contradict! Considering how juvenile Zeno acts, I think he's Remus's descendant, but I'd like to see how Remus behaves before I really commit to that. I also believe Zeno would rank lower, since erasing universes is easier than creating them, in my experience. Majins effectively caused the Big Bang, went on to populate worlds, and acted as their guardians. Wouldn't expect such a relaxed series like Daima to drop such existential lore, that most beings are descendants of demons. Not humans and Saiyans though, who don't share a common ancestor but can still procreate with relative success. Funny how that works. Abra was the one who set limitations on the warp, so he's left a longer lasting impact than Dabura ever did, even from off screen. Glens were also treated cruelly, and all these parallels between Piccolo and Shin crop up. They even both got plant-like qualities. Shin brings up that his birthplace is dying, and I assume they worked out a solution. That is not the case though, and Glens are really expected to die out. My first question is why not use the Dragon Balls? But making the trees that create such complex life may be above Shinran's whiskers. A distinction between Shin and Piccolo is the lack of connection Shin feels to his old home due to its current state. Finally, on the ship, Bulma acknowledges Glorio and rehires him as pilot. Although, before they can take off, Neva might need a toothless word with them. If Daima keeps up this quality the rest of its run, we're eating good. A big question is where exactly Xeno fits into this puzzle. I prefer the Descendant theory, though I could be convinced of them as equal gods of creation and destruction. As for Ku, I'm so glad he exceeded expectations. I've been desperately wanting more memorable characters from Daima, and Ku's hot and cold nature delivers just that. It's a perfect dynamic with Aranzu as the straight man. Then we get all this exposition on Piccolo and Shin, who's expected to die out as a race. They also don't seem to have a plan. Some Namekians have restorative powers like wound healing, so maybe that could contribute to the healing of the trees. So with all the action that was a treat, and all the questions raised, giving this a 10 out of 10.